Rob Word. Welcome to another Word on Westerns. I've got a surprise for you today. We're on a train and we're thinking about 310 to Yuma, the great Western film that Frankie Laine sang the theme to. Well, over 40 years ago, I interviewed Frankie back in Florida. And he joined me for a series I did called Stardom that were 2.5-minute short interview inserts. He did 5 of those with me. I was able to find 4 of those, and I've edited them together for your enjoyment and for mine. It's a surprise to see me back then, but I think you're going to enjoy Frankie. I know I did. Here's Frankie Laine from 1977's Stardom.
Remember those great Western theme songs? Frankie Laine does. He sang some of the best. And today on Stardom, Frankie joins Rob Word and talks about his favorites.
When somebody grabs an album and says, let's listen to Frankie, well, I don't think of old Blue Eyes Sinatra. I think of Frankie Laine and Hell Bent for Leather, one of the greatest albums ever recorded. Our guest on Stardom today is the legendary Frankie Laine.
Is that what you call it, Stardom?
That's it, Stardom. And
That's
you're
a good
it.
name.
Thank you. Your album, that Hell Bent for Leather, I tell you, every single cut on that, from High Noon to Rawhide to Cool Water, Mule Train, 310 to Yuma, magnificent recordings.
It's a marvelous package. We spent a lot of time sitting down to working out the songs, how to place them in the album, the context of one song relating to the next one, either in front or in back. Ray Barr, my conductor, helped me put the whole thing together. And he's been with me a long time now. And we got Johnny Williams to, and you know what Johnny Williams has done since then. And we picked Johnny out at that time as one of the great newcomers. Now that was 1961. So he just won the thing for Star Wars or whatever. You know, he's fantastic. It led to other albums with Johnny. We did Wanderlust and one other one with him. And then he just got too busy for us, you know. But this package is my pride and joy.
Do you usually spend that much time in deciding what cut should go where in an album?
Sometimes it comes easier. You know, when you say, do you usually spend that much time? It's a hard question to answer because it's almost like you have to think in 2 or 3 ways. They tell me, and I've always been told, that the first and second cuts on side 1 are the most important. Then side 6, so that you get the people to turn it over. Right. And then the number 1 or number 7 song would be the first cut on side 2. And then after that, it doesn't make any difference. You just have to worry about routine style. But you have to pick out your most important songs to lead in the way you want. And then you routine them after that for pacing and importance.
In the 1950s and 1960s, Westerns were dominating television. Seemed like everyone had a great theme song to Sugarfoot, Cheyenne, Bronco, but I guess the best theme song of all, of course, was Rawhide, sung by our guest on Stardom today, Frankie Laine. It's a magnificent song, and I think it helped put across that show.
Well, Dmitri Tiomkin and Ned Washington wrote it, and Dmitri Tiomkin, you know, a Russian by birth, wound up writing some of the greatest Western
High Noon.
High Noon, Gunfight at OK Corral, Rawhide, and I don't know how many others. But the very first one that started me on this track of doing theme songs was Blowin' Wild, the legend of Black Gold. And he wrote that one with Paul Francis Webster, I believe it was. And it started me off on every time somebody came up to the theme song, it was like, get Frank. Well, those were the heyday years anyway, you know. So then we did Strange Lady in Town, and we did
310 to Yuma.
310 to Yuma, which I think is still one of the best songs that
and one of the best films too.
One of the best songs we've ever done as a background theme. And I missed a few that other people got to do, which is par for the course. You know, a lot of people think I did High Noon, and I didn't do it. It was Tex Ritter.
Sure.
But we had the hit record.
Mm-hmm. And, was he mad about that?
Oh no! I mean, those are the the aces and deuces of the business. You know, some you win, some you lose. But what his connection was with High Noon, I mean, to get to do it, I don't know. But I wish I had gotten High Noon, but then maybe he'd have had the hit record. So you can't tell. I really feel that we had a good span of years from 1953 and then culminating with Blazing Saddles.
What a way to top it, too. You also sang the theme to Gunslinger, which was produced by the same people who did Rawhide, and you made an appearance on Rawhide.
Yes, Gunslinger, unfortunately, didn't catch on. It was a good theme. I think they patterned it, which maybe was a mistake. I think they tried to write the song for me, and it sounded too much like too many of the others, you know, although it was a good song.
And I thought it was a good show, and I trust today's Stardom was a good show for all of you out there. Our guest has been Frankie Laine. Growing up in tough neighborhoods is sometimes an incentive for people to break out and to become successful. Our guest on Stardom today, Frankie Laine, was blessed with an extraordinary voice and was able to break out of Chicago and make the big time. What was it like as a child and discovering that as a singer, that's where your vocation lay?
Well, you're right about getting out of the town. I left when I was 17 and for quite some time pursued the life of a marathon dancer, which at that time was a very popular entertainment.
You hold a record for a marathon. Yeah. How long is that?
145 days. It was about, well, I beat Joey Ray, the famous mile runner of that time. Of course, I was 19, he was 38. And I guess that had a lot to do with it. But that lasted from about 1931 to about 1936, and that kept me on the road away from home.
It's a heck of a way to make a living, isn't it?
Yeah, it was tough, but there was nothing else going on, believe me. That was the heart of the Depression. And I must say that the marathons really brought me through the Depression. And in the meantime, I was learning how to sing in front of people, how to perform. That's where I really learned the rudiments of how to perform in front of a crowd, you know.
How realistic was the Jane Fonda film, They Shoot Horses, Don't They, where Gig Young was the announcer at the dance?
I didn't see it, but from all I've heard, it was pretty close to the truth. You see, up until around the time 1933, most of the marathons were like entertainment kind of things. And somebody in 1933 changed the name to Walkathon, and they became more sport-oriented. They used to have sprints and races and all kinds of, like you saw.
They showed that in the film, and it was grueling.
Yeah, they were. Well, that's what they used to call them. They used to call them grinds. And they forgot about the singing and the dancing and the comedy after that. They just used to have the grinds every night, and that was the entertainment. And people would fall by the wayside a lot quicker. So some of the ones who used to last pretty long in most of the contests, man, they dropped like flies.
Well, we're dropping out right now on today's Stardom. Frankie Laine, thanks for joining us today, again on Stardom. One of the world's funniest men is Mel Brooks, and in his film Blazing Saddles, which was a satire on Western and laid to rest most of the myths about Westerns, he chose a man who has sung the opening themes to many of the greatest Westerns ever made. Our guest today on Stardom, the singer behind the voice in Blazing Saddles, Frankie Laine.
Thank you.
Did you meet with Mel on that?
It was peculiar the way it happened. I was in Vegas. We had just opened at the Desert Inn, and we had an opportunity to do the Merv Griffin show. And they asked me what two songs I wanted to sing. So I happened to choose Cry of the Wild Goose and You're the Best Thing That Ever Happened to Me. So who knew that Mel Brooks was in Los Angeles watching Merv Griffin? And when I came on to open with Cry of the Wild Goose, they hadn't yet done their theme song. So he's married Dan Bancroft. He said, hey, that's the guy that should do our theme song. So I got off the air and there was a call waiting for me from Mel Brooks. And I didn't know Mel Brooks. Never heard of him at that point.
You knew who he was.
I knew who he was, but I mean, I had no relationship, like, why was he calling me, in other words? So I knew he had made a record. I knew he was a funny man with the 2,000-year
One-liner.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So he came on the phone. He said, hey, he talks real rough. He said, I know you don't have time to talk now because you got to get back to do the show, but he says, I want to talk to you about doing a theme song. I says, oh, he says, I just made a picture called Blazing Saddles. I want you to do the theme. I says, well, don't you think I ought to hear it first? And he says, oh, you'll hear it. I says, well, can you send me up a tape or a demo? And he says, yeah. I says, well, make sure that you get somebody, you know. He says, oh, I'll do the demo. He says, nobody knows it better than I. He says, I wrote it, which he did with, can't remember the composer now, but anyway, I got it, and it was bad. I mean, it was a lousy demo, but I learned the song from that demo and flew into Hollywood, did the track one afternoon in about 40 minutes. He took me to lunch and boom, sent me to the airport in a limo. I haven't seen or talked to him since.
Well, we're certainly glad you did that song, and we're especially glad you appeared on Stardom today with us, Frankie Laine.
My name is Rob Word, and we love bringing these programs to you. We've got a lot more scheduled coming up. We post a new one every single week, and we want you to subscribe, like, and share. Thanks for watching.